The last several weeks, really, I don't even really know how to explain this. So I always try and tell a story when I'm making a new video, but really what I try and do is I like to tie all of my videos together into a theme that's either going for like a week long or a month long. And right now we've been really talking and honing in on the Pokemon market in general, because the Pokemon market is really down right now, especially for modern Pokemon. And a lot of people kind of get upset, they get in their feelings about it, and it's just not great. What that leads to is frustration. And this is why I always say, don't just pay attention to the values. Pokemon is cyclical. It goes up and down all the time. And when you're talking about modern Pokemon and how different things are now than how they used to be, we take better care of our cards. There's a lot more information out there. There's a lot more education out there. You're going to have peaks and valleys all over the place for several years until things really start to kind of level out, maybe slowly increase over time. And that's why it's so important just to have fun with the hobby. Once you start focusing on that value side only, it becomes very frustrating. People leave, and then you miss out on a lot. Really, what happens, and this is something that I was talking about in my Discord a couple days ago. I said, hey, for those of you who stay in this Discord for a long time, you guys are the ones who are going to be okay in the hobby. Really, the main thing to be successful in the hobby, and success is completely what you define success is. But really, if you want to stay in the hobby for the long time, those who stay in the hobby the longest, they're the ones who are going to benefit from these swings, from these peaks and valleys. Because if you look back at what we went through when Pokemon first came out in the late 90s, and then the dark ages that came not too long after that, after Nintendo took over and you had the EX era that went into Platinum and Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and there just wasn't that much as far as popularity goes. People weren't collecting as much then. But the people who stayed in the hobby during that time, the people who continued to build their collection, they're really the ones nowadays who are reaping the benefits of the fact that they bought Gold Stars for $15 back in 2005, 2006, when Gold Stars originally came out. And nowadays, obviously, selling for a lot more. So if you really love Pokemon and you want to make this hobby into something bigger, or whatever your collection goals are, that's really what's important. Just don't go anywhere. Like, that's the big thing. But then if you don't, like, what makes you frustrated, don't pay attention to that. If the peaks and valleys, the swings that happen in the Pokemon market are too much, like, you need to back away from that and focus on something else. I always carry around a notebook, writing in collection goals, writing in things that I'm kind of after, and putting them, ranking them in different quadrants of importance to me. There might be something in quadrant 1 which I really want right now, or quadrant 2 which I really want right now, but maybe I need to wait on it, and then quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, maybe a couple of cards that need to finish up a master set that's a little bit older, or whatever the case may be. And then I'll pull up eBay, I'll pull up TCG Player, I'll pull up Amazon, I'll look on Facebook Marketplace, I'll look various places, various sales channels to try and cross off those collection goals. And then another day goes by, I'll start a new quadrant, whatever the case may be, until I can, fulfill all of those collection goals. And as you look at the Pokemon market, we talked about how different things are right now, modern, going up and down. There are some areas of the Pokemon market that are doing extremely well. Some singles right now which are doing extremely well. We talked about primes in one video last week, where primes have really started to explode in price in a lot of different areas. Just consistent growth over the past year, and that's because they weren't popular when they originally came out. And over time, as the market saturated, less and less became available. Demand's still there, not as big as what it could be, but demand's still there for those, and supply is just down. So because of that, it's seeing consistent growth. And there's other cards that are kind of going through that same thing. And what better Pokemon to talk about than Charizard, with obsidianflames coming out next week. We talked about Charizard, modern Charizards. There's like 25 of them, and pretty much all of them just really trending down. Charizard is not doing what Charizard is used to doing, and part of the reason behind that is because there's just so much supply out there. So we are going to talk in this video about the Charizards that are doing well, and a lot of them are older Charizards. A lot of them are vintage Charizards. And why this is important is because during the pandemic, pretty much everything Charizard related blew up like crazy, right? And we talked about this. We talked about how this is a false market, how this doesn't look natural, this doesn't look good. And you had hype beasts all over the place pushing this angry fire lizard and talking about how base set Charizard is going to stonk to the moon and things are going to go nuts and you should buy now, buy now, buy now. And then it plateaued. into this false market, and then it crashed down and slowly, and in some cases very strongly fell extremely hard over the course of like a year and a half straight. A lot of Charizards really crashed and then kind of bottomed out, and now some of them are really starting to turn. Some of them are doing really, really well, and that's why we talk about market saturation and looking as you fill out these collection goals, ones that you want to accomplish the most, trying to find good deals on certain cards, because you know that the market is going to be more saturated on a base set Charizard. Yeah, there's a ton of them graded. There's 40,000 plus of them that are graded. Some of them obviously went through reholderings and things like that, but you know there's a lot of Charizard, base set Charizards in existence. A lot of them got destroyed, but if you're thinking about market saturation, the fact that there was probably over 100,000 printed, now that we know the information that we have today, probably over 100,000 printed of the original base set Charizard, you know probably 30-40% of those have been destroyed completely. And then when you start looking at the numbers that are out there that are being graded, that are probably still raw, that are damaged beyond gradability, like it's crazy to think how much of those were in existence but still trending upward. And you can look at some of these other Charizards that were maybe printed less, some of them that were printed in that Dark Ages. I'm rambling like crazy. Let's talk about this Fire Lizard with Obsidian Flames coming out next week. And here's the base set Charizard right here. This one actually doing extremely well. And you may say, hey, Fanny, it's only up about $45 over the past year. That's not bad when you start looking at things, especially in the Pokemon market. And you look at consistent growth. This one leveled off a little bit from January until March, until April of 2023. So it had about a 4-month stretch where it was relatively level, but for the most part, really trending in the upward direction. You can see in October of 2022, it was at that 1-year low of 321.53. And you want to talk about something that's good, 10% growth, especially in today's economy, in today's market. That's really, really strong. You can see it at 368.11 recently in June of 2023. It's backed off a little bit, but still sitting at 358.01, which is still over 10% above where it was in October of 2022. That's the base set Charizard. The only modern Charizard that's doing really well right now is the one from Celebrations. This one is doing extremely well and has done well throughout the entirety of the past year. You can see very few valleys, for the most part, just consistent growth that it's gone through over the past year. In October of 2022, this card was down to about $59.45. That was its 1-year low, but since then, it is, I mean, you're almost looking at doubling in price over the past year. Just consistent growth. You're looking at about 40% growth over the past 8-9 months now, sitting at 87.67 currently. So that's a 1-year high for the Celebrations Charizard. Here's the base 2 Charizard, the second holographic Charizard, featuring the original base set art in August of 2022. This was down to 212.48. So just really consistent growth throughout the year. You can see in August it kind of had a bigger stretch of growth right there, or a more significant growth pattern right there, before leveling out a little bit, but slow growth. You can see in June of 2023 it did hit that 1-year high of 246.05 before backing off a little bit back around that 230 mark, but now it's kind of continued to go up, sitting at 245.21 currently. So that's a really close to its 1-year high, and you can see it's about $34 above where it was, so about 15% up over the past year for that base set 2 Charizard. Here is the Blaine's Charizard holographic. This is just the unlimited holofoil. I got rid of the first edition graphing on this mark, but if we just look at the unlimited holo, this is what we're talking about with buying it at its valley, because if you look here, you can see this bell curve basically where in July of 2022, this one was still kind of hyped up a little bit, still around that 1-year high, and then crashed back down. And then you started seeing more normal patterns where over the stretch of 8 months, it was right between 220, 225, and 240 pretty much for that entirety of that 8-month stretch. You want to talk about market saturation. This one's very interested, especially because, as you can see, the one that we're looking at here has the fire energy, which is actually a little bit more rare than the fighting energy one that was the misprint Blaine's Charizard, which is actually more common than the normal one. But you can see for a while, 8-month stretch there, it was relatively consistent right around that 240 mark. And then in June of 2023, it started taking off again. So now it's sitting at 285.70, which is a 1-year high for that Charizard. If we look at the Charizard GX, we just pulled this one during my stream last week. This one's super cool, a lot of fun. Lots of Charizard GXs out there because Hidden Fates has been printed like madness. But this one was definitely trending downward for quite some time. You can see in March of 2023, it was actually at a 1-year low of 347.61 before really starting to take off, and now it's sitting at 391.03 just over the span of 3 months. It's almost gained 20%, which is really, really strong. sitting at a 1-year high currently. If we look at the Charizard holographic from the Legendary Collection, such a cool set. Reverse holo is very difficult to find in good condition. You want to talk about market saturation. Legendary Collection, just a set that wasn't printed very well. Nobody even thought about taking care of the reverse holos when Legendary Collection originally came out. So Legendary Collection, very expensive for a lot of different cards. Charizard obviously being no different. This is the regular holofoil price, not the reverse holo that we're looking at here. You can see $300 was its 1-year low, which it ran from about July to October of 2022, and then started to trend upward, started to take off as less supply became available. Demand was still there. It's jumped about 30% now over the past year, sitting just south of $400 at $399.99. So that's a 1-year high for that one. Here's the Charizard holographic from Secret Wonders, which has done really well. In November of 2022, this was sitting at a 1-year low of $130.88, relatively consistent from July of 2022 up until about January of 2023, and then really started taking off. You can see it sitting at $191.31 currently. That's a 1-year high for that Charizard from Secret Wonders. Here's the one from Generations, which is really cool. This is the whole storyline Charizard. If you have the Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard from Generations, the RC set, Radiant Collection set, very, very cool from Legendary Treasure, or from Generations, sorry, excuse me. In July of 2022, it was sitting at that 1-year low of $12.42, but real natural growth, real slow growth. You can see in June of 2023, it backed off a little bit closer to that $15, but then jumped up to a 1-year high of $19.74. Now it's sitting at $18.70, so still closer to its 1-year high than its 1-year low. Still doing extremely well. Here's the Charizard from Power Keepers. Charizard looking up at the moon right there. Very consistent from July of 2022, actually trending downward a little bit all the way up until February of 2023, sitting about 107.49, and then really starting to take off in February of 2023 and sitting at 138.89 currently. So that's a 1-year high for that Charizard from Power Keepers. If we look at the Mega Charizard, this is the secret rare from Flashfire. Flashfire was a set much like what we have with Obsidian Flames, where there was just a ton of Charizards that were printed. The big difference between Obsidian Flames and Flashfire, when Flashfire came out, a little bit underprinted compared to what Obsidian Flames looks like it's going to be delivering. There's going to be a lot of that available. In July of 2022 up until October of 2022, sitting at a 1-year low of $169.82, but almost doubling in price over the past year, all the way up to $318.34 currently. It's really high for a card that's kind of semi-modern right now at this point, but really blew up in price. $318.34, so that's a 1-year high for that one. Here's the Mega Charizard from Generations. This one also really cool. In October of 2022, it was down to $53.08. It's gained about 20% over the past 8-9 months now. Relatively flat up until March of 2023 before really starting to take off. Now it's sitting at $63.29, so that's a 1-year high for that one. Here's the Reshiram and Charizard GX. This is one of the alternate art promo cards. You've seen a lot of damage done by these alternate art promo cards over the past 6-7 months. A lot of people focusing on those tag team alternate arts, and then when those started getting really expensive, they turned their attention more towards the alternate art promos. In July of 2022, this was sitting at a 1-year low of $19.65. It did see a big gain in October of 2022 when a lot of those other alternate arts started taking off. The modern alternate arts jumped up to about $36 before backing off a little bit, and then in January of 2023 started a real more steady growth pattern right there, sitting at $35.63 currently, so just off of its 1-year high. The Charizard promo, the Sun and Moon promo number 226, this one has done extremely well over the past 6-7 months. You can see it hit a 1-year low of $21.13 in January before relatively slowly starting to gain some ground, and then in June of 2023 really started to take off. Sitting at $29.60 currently, so that's a 1-year high for that Charizard. Then we've got the Charizard holographic from Boundaries Crossed. We're just looking again at the holo rare variant, not the reverse holo variant. Relatively flat from July of 2022 up until January of 2023. That's where it hit its 1-year low of $23.74. Then really started taking off, jumped all the way up to $36.42 a couple weeks ago. It's leveled off to $36.35 currently, but still, again, that's 40% growth that you're seeing over the past couple months. Here's the Charizard rare from XP. This one's so cool. This one also has that 4-position only error card, which is super, super rare, super valuable. I was looking at sold listings or listings on eBay for that 4-position only card. It's crazy to even think about. This one was trending downward at the back half of 2023. You can see in January, or 2022, you can see in January of 2023, it was down to $70.51, but it's gained almost 40% over the past 7 months now, sitting at $98.43 currently. So it's a 1-year high for that Charizard as well. So that's 15 different Charizards that are doing extremely well. And there's other ones too that are older, some of the vintage or semi-vintage ones that are actually performing really well. And that's why we focus on market saturation and focus on the numbers that are being produced and protecting your cards properly, so that way you can get the most out of your collection down the road if for some reason you decide you want to sell or trade to a different piece of your collection or whatever the case may be. I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment, share the video. All those things just go really far for the algorithm. But regardless, thank you just for taking the time to listen to me ramble about this this fire lizard. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for everything. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. We're streaming tomorrow, and then hopefully Thursday, Friday, we should have some Obsidian Flames. I want to see how many packs it takes to open up every single Charizard. So we'll figure that out. But thanks, guys, for everything. I'll talk to you soon. Until then, peace.